It's like you have to want it badly, but then also respect it at the same time, right? Like you have to want something, but also know that if you get it, it was a gift.
This week, courtside, we've got Jen Spencer, truly an outstanding player and person in our community. She's going to go over what it takes to be an amazing teammate, how we take care of our teammates, how we take care of ourselves, and what it takes to play our best. Stick around. It's going to be a great episode. Thanks for listening.
Full disclosure, I'm a 1/3 owner in North Pole Bike Polo. And honestly, I think it's great stuff. I always say it. If the aliens ever invade Earth and for some reason the future of the human race comes down to me beating them at bike polo, I'm grabbing a North Pole mallet. I find the combination of performance and durability can't be beat. Whether you're a rookie just starting out or you're heading to Worlds, NorthPoleBikePolo.com is the best place to get your polo gear. And I want to give them a big thank you for sponsoring this podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Toste Bike Polo. Toste makes the most amazing wheel covers. I got a pair this winter and I've been beyond impressed. What's super cool about Toste is that they actually ask you your wheel size, the number of spokes, and then for each individual order, they custom cut a pair of covers to fit your exact spoke pattern on your wheels. I have never had a pair of covers that fit my bike like these, and they just feel so rock solid, and they're quiet. If you want a pair of Toste wheel covers or just to check them out, head over to @TosteBikePolo on Instagram, and maybe even send them a DM. That's how you get a pair.
Jenny, thanks for coming courtside with me today. Happy to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this episode for a while. I'm just super excited to dive into some of the nitty gritty. You know, I've been fortunate enough to be your teammate before for a Commonwealth Classic that one time, and I just have so many ideas of where this conversation could go. Um, to start off, though, I think we should just start with like the recent stuff. You know, recently you had two big wins, Crown Classic
Yep.
and also the South Central Qualifier. Why don't we start with Crown Classic? Is this your first time winning Crown Classic?
Uh, no, it's my third time.
Third time.
Yeah. This time was a bit of a surprise, but my first win at Crown was with Sam Bell and Jackie Rust in
Oh,
2019,
sweet.
pre-COVID. We won in Salt Lake City. And then I won last year with Tina and Ane.
That's right.
Yeah.
Remember that. That was an awesome final. I got to watch that one.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, like, I got to play with, like, my hero Tina, which is just, like, always amazing. She's such a titan in bike polo, you know?
Yes.
And then this year it was with Jillian and Emily, and, I've never played with Emily before, so we've been trying to put a team together for a long time. And then, Jillian, I played with them, God, like, they were one of my very first qualifier teams, like, way back in the day. I remember when they asked it was Jillian and Brandon asked me to play with them, like, probably, like, 10 years ago. And so this was kind of a reunion tour for Jillian and me. And, yeah, we weren't really sure what to expect. We were hoping we're like, "Well, let's try for podium, that'd be great." And then somehow we just stumbled into first place. We had to fight our way out through the losers, bracket though, so had to play twice to beat Tina
Oh,
and Shelly and, uh, Danny, so it was fun. It was really fun.
that's awesome. I'm like, that's a team that's a contender in any tournament. I'm thinking about it. Like both the team you beat in the finals, but also your team too. Jillian, Emily, you, that's such a cerebral team with some pretty strong personalities. What was that like?
It was we were joking that it 'cause, all joke that we were, like, all neurospicy. So, we have a mix of, like, autism and ADHD and, like, somehow combined, they're like a superpower, you know? But it was amazing because like, afterwards, we really were kind of reflecting a lot about, like, why did this work so well? Because instantly, there was just really great connection, good communication. I think one of the things that really helped us was what really works is when you can really trust your teammates and, like, the passes just happen naturally. No one's overthinking it. No one on our team was trying to be the hero or forcing anything. And we were really good at just kind of adjusting as we started seeing what worked and what didn't work. And, in the final, we just joked that the reason we won was we were so exhausted. Because like, Grand Rapids, bless their heart, they did an amazing job. They were running 17-minute games, though, on Sunday, and they were had a running clock on Saturday, so on Sunday, like, this is a 3v3. We played 8 games, 17-minute games, so, I mean, it's
Oh,
exhausting.
what?
When you get into, like, the deep and you have to come up through the losers bracket, that's one of the
Yeah.
big things you have to, like, deal with, is just the exhaustion. So we joked that one of the reasons we won was because we were so tired, we couldn't overthink the game. The only thing you could focus on was just, like, what was happening in the moment. So I couldn't even focus on the fact that I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm playing Tina and Shelly, and oh my god." No, I was just like, I did not have the brain power. And so we just joked that that was probably why we won because we were just super tired.
I mean, like, coming out of the loser bracket and playing against the team that just won the winners bracket, having to win 2 in a row is a daunting task. We gotta beat these people twice in a row, and they haven't lost yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
They went undefeated until well, you and I, we remember having to deal
Oh, I remember.
of course, we were on the other end, the receiving end of that. But no, like, we
Yes.
went into the final, and we were just excited that we got there. We're like, "Oh, sweet. We made it to the final." And then we're like, "Well," part of us were like, when we went in, we just kind of we we had a little team huddle, and we're like, "Okay." We'd already kinda strategized because 'cause we'd already played, this team twice, and we played them on Saturday, and we played them already they were the ones who knocked us into the losers bracket. And so we'd learned a lot in terms of our defense because that was kind of what was getting us. It wasn't like we couldn't score. It was like
Mhm.
defensively, like we had to change our strategy because Tina and Shelly like to stretch the defense a lot. And so one of the things that we just basically discussed was like we have to just play man on man defense. Like really do not let the pass get any type of like open lanes. And so we really just changed how we, thought about our defense and, it helped a lot, and one of the things we discussed was, "Hey, like, we're super exhausted, but hey, this is really great practice because this is what happens when you get into a finals in any tournament, you're tired." And so we were just like, "You have to just dig deep. Like, dig deep and have fun," right? And so that's what we did. We're like, we practiced, like, digging deep and having fun, and
That's good.
we won the first one, and we just looked at each other and we were like, "God damn it. We gotta do this again."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've actually been on the other side of it and lost 2 in a row after winning the winners bracket, like, 3 times in the last, I think, 10 months.
No.
It's been like, just I try not to think too much about it
Yeah.
because I'll get in my head next time, but
Yeah.
it's been a series of bad luck, I think. I wanna pick up on one thing you said about that team and the change in the defense to man on man.
Uh-huh.
So if you're playing man on man and, one person's on the ball and you're covering the other player or the pass, like, I'm just curious, what does that look like? Like, I hear a lot of people say man on man, but that defense is kind of interesting. Where would you position yourself in relation to them in the net if you're guarding that player?
It's it's so tricky trying to explain it. I think it's harder for, like, rookies to kinda get that, play. I think there's a couple of elements that you have to have. You have to like, the vision you have to make that work. So, when you're looking and you're playing like, if I'm playing pass, so if I'm, like, shadowing the pass, the
Yeah.
only time that really when I'm talking man on man, it doesn't mean that you're following deep into
Oh,
the
okay.
opponent's zone. It's more like when you have, like, a pass, or when you have someone covering the ball, and the second player has to be watching where, like, obviously, the pass is going. But the big thing is and this is what was kinda getting us, is, like, the ball carrier cannot make a pick at the ball. They have to play the front wheel, they cannot get beat, because you can't play, like, that man-to-man defense if the ball carrier is expecting the second to pick up the mess and clean up the mess for them.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing, like, we had a agreement where, like, 2 hands on your bars, 2 hands on your bars, like, all the time, like, sure, you can make a poke at certain moments, right? That's safe, but, like, the big thing is if you got beat, you kinda fucked up your job,
You gave
right? And
away a
so
breakaway.
yeah, exactly. So it was more kind of like, Tina and Shelly love to do these big, like, up passes, and I know this
Yeah.
because I played with Tina, and it does work really well. But it doesn't work so well if you have, if you're shadowing that person who's floating forward. But I
Mhm.
see a lot of teams that do not cover that pass, right? Because it's just too tempting to just be watching the ball the whole time, and part of that is just because a lot of times there's this expectation that the second is gonna clean up the first mess if they get beat.
Yeah.
So, we just really worked on that first, just, like, not letting the ball get around them, forcing the pass, basically, or forcing them to reset, and that allowed us to more cleanly cover the passing lanes, and I think really worked for us, especially against, you know, that particular team.
Yeah, it sounds like you that first defender who's guarding the ball, you kinda took all the gambling out of their play. Like, you're not challenging, you're just not getting beat, and then you had to
Yes.
trust that player to follow through on that
Yes.
strategy because that's kind of the pillar that's holding this defense together,
Yes.
and the obvious weakness too, right? So that's a lot of trust and teamwork when it comes to playing defense.
Yes. Yes, and
Huh.
I think that this is one thing, so, like, I love the fact that I just played 2 tournaments back to back because it was like I was able to see this double. Because then I took what I kinda learned, right, from Crown, and we applied it at the central qualifiers too, because that was a lot of the same strategy that I was kind of like, telling the team. I was like, "Playing a defensive style takes a lot of patience, and it's it's not as sexy, it's not as, like, whatever. And so people just want the ball so badly, and so they're not willing to be patient because like, they're gonna turn it over. They're gonna try for a pass, and, like, that happened so many times at Crown when we were playing, the weekend is, like, if you just play really solid defense and patiently wait for those moments, and then you capitalize on them,
Yeah.
and that's how you win.
I think, like, a team that's really notable that has been having a great season that does this really well would be, like, Gravitas.
Yes.
Like, they very rarely will challenge for a steal in the other team's end.
Yep.
They really come sit at home on defense, but if you cause a turnover like Cato or Tenzin this year, these
Yep.
people can run it down the court and shoot and score the breakaway really easily.
Yes.
So that's one team that's, I think, kind of the epitome of this style, and they crushed me with it at NA's last year twice, so
That's literally
thinking about that one too.
I know that's literally like NAs because we played them, at NAs last year, and they were kicking our ass, and one of the things we had a timeout, and I just told the team, I'm like, "What's killing us is, like, the heavy forechecking." We kept going in trying to pick the ball, and I was like, "We have to have more patience." And so we basically used their defensive style to beat them. I'm like, "Patience, patience, do not let them get around you, right? Just
Yep.
wait for and it just the ability to shift your strategy mid-game, or throughout the tournament is really important. If you're
I know.
playing the same freaking game or if you can't see what's working, what's not working, and make those changes, you're not gonna be able to win.
But I think being able to have a team that can have a conversation mid-game and then actually execute the strategy that was just spoken about, that's like a sign of a championship level team in bike polo.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. There's very few teams, even at the NA's level, that can have a conversation at the side of the court and actually execute what they just said.
Yes.
Um, that's like a huge sign, and it sounds like Los Cheetos, that's the name of the South Central team?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like that might be one of those teams. Who's on that team?
Oh my god, it was such a stellar team. So it's, Donas, Kremen. I got to play with Kremen, which
Whoa,
was like
legend.
yeah, I was so excited, and Joe Monero, who in San Francisco, we call him Nice Joe, that's his nickname.
Mhm.
So,
Nice.
like, yeah, it was super fun. Kremen is basically I was just a little, polo rookie when he retired, and so I never really knew who he was when I was in the Bay Area. I didn't really talk to him or anything. So this was my first time really, like, getting to know him, and he's an absolute sweetheart. He's such a great teammate. Um, and I had so much fun playing with him. It was really fun.
Cool, and then you guys in the finals of that one, you beat a team who's on that team?
So we played in the final for South Central, we played, Diego, Alvin, Max, and Drew.
Okay.
So that was a super fun final. We 3-0'd them, which is it's always fun to donut somebody, and again, it was our
Yep.
our defense that really helped there. It was I mean, playing Diego is always such a thrill. He's such an amazing player. I
Right.
mean, the whole team was they're all amazing, but, you know, Diego and I go way back, so it's it's
Yeah,
always
all the way
fun
to
playing
Mucho
him.
days, right?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool. And so you guys obviously qualify for NAs there. Are you gonna play in any other qualifiers with any other teams?
Yeah, I'm playing actually next weekend at Southwest with our new lineup of Nemesis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so Donas is playing with us again, and Daniel, and Sejas from Mexico City, so that's gonna be Nemesis's line this year.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
pretty big shift in Nemesis lineup there. I
Yeah.
mean, not since Worlds, because I mean, some of those players are the same ones, but that's big from versus last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Very cool. I'm excited to see how that works out and how you guys play together. Is
Me
that the
too.
team you're kind of planning to play NAs with? Like, it seems like there's two different teams here.
Yeah, no, no, no. So, yeah, that is exactly. So, Nemesis is the team that Donis and I are both planning to play with. So, Kremen and Joe were sweethearts and let me and Donis basically play with them as a way because, like, Donis and I have only ever played together at Worlds.
Mm.
And so they invited me to the team because they're all in the same club together. And so they were like, "Hey, like this is Jenny, would you like to play with us?" You know, and Donis was like, "Hey, this would be a great idea for us to get some practice together." And so I was absolutely honored, and so I played with them. They knew that we weren't planning on uh going to NAs, but they are. So Eric and Joe are planning to go to NAs, which I'm super excited for them. So that will be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's really exciting to have Kremen
I
back at
know.
NAs.
I know.
Dang,
Very
I'm gonna have to
exciting.
try to go now and watch that happen.
I know. Yes.
Uh, No, I was really excited, Jenny, to have you on this podcast. First of all, congratulations on all those 2 wins, like,
Thank you.
Crown Classic in particular, that's a huge win,
Thanks.
and I think that's a really meaningful like, a 3rd win is, puts you in some pretty rare air, if you know what I mean. You're near the top of the mountain there. Um, but what I'm really excited to talk to you about, and what I've been thinking about the weeks leading up to this is just you do a lot of really cool things as a teammate to make your team better. And I got to experience that firsthand. I was really fortunate. I got to play Commonwealth Classic with you. We finished 2nd place.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot at that tournament just watching the way that you kind of handled yourself off the court in particular and on the court too.
Mhm.
But some of the off the court strategies you're using to stay rested, to make sure the team is on the level emotionally, it really stood out to me as something I want to bring more to my game. And I think it's something that a lot of pole players don't think about. So I'm just going to start off by asking, like, in your mind, what makes a good teammate, I guess? That's a
Yeah.
big question, but
No,
we'll
I think
start
it's
broad.
yeah, I think that's an excellent question. I would say that there's a lot of elements that kinda go into being a good teammate, and it's a you know, you're it's a I think part of it, like, not to be, like, you know, cliche, but it's having a growth mindset, right? Like, having flexibility, I think it does take a level of emotional maturity, which, again, it's not something that you're just born with, it's something that you develop, and that comes with experience, that comes with reflection, that comes with the ability to kind of listen to your teammates, you know, communication, and I talked about this recently. We just ran a intermediate polo camp, and my session was all about I did, like, what we call an off bike, session, which was just about team communication and emotional kind of resilience and how to handle your emotions on and off the court, and a lot of what I talked about was how important it is to build like, there a lot of that goes into setting yourself up for success happens before you're even on the court with your team. And it's about getting to know each other. It's about having those, like, kind of, like, conversations about especially around emotions. Like, a lot of times we don't talk about that stuff, and we act as if it's not a big part of the game, but, like, honestly, again, like, just going back to Crown Classic, I have not felt that solid. That was one of the best tournaments I felt like I've played in a long time. I contribute a lot of it to just having really supportive teammates. and feeling like if things went wrong on the court, I was not gonna be judged or, my teammates weren't gonna be disappointed with me. I mean, half the times we'd send a pass or something and it wouldn't connect, and one of us would be like, "Oh, sorry," and the other one's, "It's okay, BB," like, it was just constantly, like, reassuring each other that, like, the mistakes were already over, right? And we were just gonna move on. And that kind of trust, I think, does have to happen, or that trust building has to happen before you even get on the court. It's a lot of process and
I'm
chat
what
about
I'm
it.
hearing from you is having good communication and being able to, be open with your teammates and trust one another, like, that atmosphere allows you to play in a way that's, not afraid. And
Yeah.
because you're not afraid of making mistakes, you end up taking risks that actually probably pay off more times than not. Whereas, sometimes you see a lot of players where they get quite tight and they're so worried about making a mistake that they're playing timid, and that never goes
Yes.
well.
Yes. One of the things for me is I try and watch out for the signs for me, and when I know I'm starting to play timid is I get what I say is I get small. And so what I always try and remind myself is to get big, for example, you know what I mean? I'm like, "Get big, get your head up," because like, when you start playing timid, you tend to have your head down too.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of that just comes from having support from your teammate, knowing that they're gonna forgive you because then that helps you one of the worst things you can have happening while you're playing is that you're constantly monitoring how you're doing. If you're monitoring how you're doing, then you're spending so much cognitive, like, ability, right? That's brain space. Like, I mean, if you just think about, like, how much time like, how much,
Oh,
like,
totally.
bandwidth,
Yes.
yeah, you have to kinda be concentrating on the game. If part of that is going to you monitoring yourself while you're playing, like, "Oh, how am I doing? Oh my gosh, like, is so and so gonna be mad?" Or like, "Oh, are they gonna be disappointed? Or should I do this? Or are they gonna like that?" Right? Versus just being like, trusting yourself and, knowing that your teammates and you can forgive yourself if something goes wrong. You
Yeah.
can't be perfect, but we have a tendency to, like, act like any mistake is a total failure and you've fucked everything up and it's like, no, it's just
Well,
yeah.
I've played so much polo, I've been around teammates and, like, the game will be over and it will be hours later, and we're still beating ourselves up about what happened on the court. Maybe not teammate to teammate, but internally, there's this thought process of, "I can't believe I made that pass. We had talked about not making that pass," or, "I flubbed the ball in front of the net, and they got a breakaway because of it." Like, and people are just regurgitating this information, cycling in their mind over and over, and I think a lot of players fear the self-judgment almost as
Yes.
much as they fear the teammate, or maybe even more than the teammate
Yes.
judgment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The thing that's I know this, like, logically doesn't make any sense, but, like, there's a sense that, like, we have a tendency to hold ourselves to higher standards than anyone else,
Yep.
and what's helped me is, like, one, like, I know this is kind of bad, but, like, I'll catalog other, like Andrew, Wayland, like, he's an amazing player, but sometimes I like to watch how many mistakes he makes just to remind myself that he is a human being. 'Cause I'm like,
Okay.
"Oh, look, Andrew misses the like, shoots into the corner too. Oh, he flubs the ball too." Like, I mean, like, granted, he still, like, can do shit on his bike and with the ball that I will never be able to do, but it's helpful to kinda remember, and then also watching other sports. Like, I love watching basketball, and it's such a good reminder that even, like, the best players in the world, the best teams in the world lose games. Often. Like, that's just part of the game, right? And so we have this I don't know if this is partially just because I don't necessarily come from a team sport background, probably, but you're not gonna win every, game. And this is, like, something I always tell, like, my team when we're deep in a bracket and it's tied or it's really close and, like, there's this sense of, like, "Oh, it shouldn't be this close because if it's this close, if we're only up by 1, then we must be doing something wrong." And I'm like, "No. This is what happens when you're at this level. The games are close. The teams are all good.
Yep.
This is always how it's gonna be. Like, you're never gonna, like, just, like, 7-0 at a team in a final at an A's, you know what I mean? I mean, granted, Gulls did 4-0 us, but
4-0 is different than 7-0, and some of those goals are because you were playing 3 up
We were playing
pressing
3
to
up.
try to
We
catch
had
up.
to, and
It was closer than the score seems.
they're very good. They're very good at dealing with an open goal. Um,
Yes.
so we made some choices there that we had to. But, the big thing is just to remember that, like, for me, half of it's, like, normalizing things, right? And be like, "No, this is how it is. This is what it means to play at this level. Like, we're
Yep.
not doing anything wrong." You know, um, it's just hard. It's supposed to be hard.
Well, that's why we play,
Yeah,
because it's hard. That's what
exactly.
makes it matter, and that's what makes it meaningful, and that's what
Yes.
keeps, I know, me coming back, because if it was just a cakewalk, I would be very bored of it by now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, no, you're so right. I often will talk to people, like, at work, and we'll be talking about how we're always way harder on ourselves than we are on other people,
Yeah.
and how do we give ourselves permission to be compassionate with ourselves? I often talk about people. I use a metaphor where I'll say, like, everyone has a coach in their mind. And you have one coach that when you mess up comes over to the sideline and says, "Hey, you did this wrong. That's okay. Next play, do this instead."
Yeah.
And you have another coach that says, "What are you doing? Get off the court with that kind of lazy back," whatever, swear word, swear word. I mean, which coach do you want to have? Which
Yep.
is the coach that you're going to play better for? And everyone picks the first coach, but in our minds, we are always the other coach, it seems like, right? And
Yes.
finding ways to give ourselves permission and compassion with ourselves, that's a habit we gotta build. And it's a
Yes.
lot easier when you have good teammates too, right?
Yes. And I think the thing that is so hard is, like, I think a lot of times we have this at least, I'm like, "I'm a strong, independent woman. I can do it
Mm.
myself," right? Like, I'm always looking for ways to not have to depend on my teammates, and I think one of the things that has really started, becoming clear to me is I'm like, "You can't do it alone." As much as, like, I can deal with my emotions, and I can do it without, like, and it's like, "No, you can't." Like, you really can't. It's a team sport. Like, the game itself, but then, like, the emotional parts too, and, I think that a lot of times, like I said, like, I think people tend to focus on the mechanics of the game, like, "How do I improve this?" And that's how I become, like, like, a champion or, get on podium, and really, all of those things have to be there, right? But at the end of the day, the teams that make it to podium have different particular qualities, and a lot of that comes with experience, but it's like, it really is the mental part of the game that ends up being what puts you on podium, I
Yeah,
think.
so there's so many huddles with Troglodyte where I just pull the team in there and we'd be like, "Okay, everyone, 2 deep breaths." I mean, this is a high anxiety team,
Yeah.
a lot of anxious players on the team, so 2 deep breaths. The calmest team's gonna win this game, okay? And that might be the whole huddle, right?
Yeah.
Just that message.
Mhm.
I'm curious, for you with Nemesis, for, uh, Los Cheetos, what is a huddle like? What do you think is, like, an ideal huddle for a team?
Well, during a game.
Yeah, during a game, I think, or even after a game, like, these are 2 different things, but I'd love to hear both.
Okay. Let's start during the game. So, there's a couple of things that I talk about a lot in polo camp, about how to talk to your team and how to use, like, your voice and your words to help kind of, like, emotionally, like, regulate each other. Um, I've played a lot of goal, and so that's, like, the perfect place to be talking constantly, right? So,
Mhm.
we do a lot of stuff to prepare ourselves, so before the games, right? So, there's conversations that are had, and again, this is what I recommend in polo camp is, like, you set your intentions before you even get on the court. So, a lot of the work that goes into setting yourself up for success and for those timeouts during games happens before you get on there. So, you're talking about the things that matter, like, what are your values as a team?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so, like, and this isn't about, like, end results. Like, we wanna win. That's not a value, right? That's like a goal, sure, but, like, you don't get to control the outcome of the game. Like, there's a lot that's outside your control. So you have to focus on the things that you can control. And, part of that is, like, just identifying what are the aspects or the elements that tend to lead towards, like, winning games and winning, like, elements, right? Conditions. And what are the things that when you get off the court, you wanna make sure that you've done as a team? And for Nemesis, it was always about staying focused and staying humble and hungry. Is kind of like those are the 3 words we always kinda anchored on.
Mhm.
And so it meant to stay hungry, right? Because like, that's the digging deep and the drive. Staying humble meant being respectful of the other team, the game itself, and that again, it's in a way, it's like almost acknowledging that there are elements that we just do not have control over and, staying focused, right? And so that's like, what is next? And we always were just like, don't get desperate. That was like the thing we wanted to try and avoid. And so we had conversations about what desperation looked like in our team as individuals, right? And we talked strategies on like, okay, well, when someone starts getting desperate, what are we gonna do? And, a lot of it was just reminding people, right? Like, I'm like, "Play our game, play our pace," right? All these types of things. And so those conversations before we even got on the court really helped us so when we have those timeouts, right, we could just we could remind each other of those things.
Yeah, and you can kind of communicate a more complicated idea in just a few words
Exactly.
because the pre-conversation's already happened. Instead of saying,
Exactly.
"Hey, we're playing a bit of control, you going on and on and on," you can say, "Let's be humble, let's stay focused,"
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that encompasses that whole message that so many teams are trying to grapple with.
Yeah. And the other thing that also helped too is like, yeah, just like reminding using particular keywords that we all kind of anchored on, like
Mhm.
calm, right? Like, so I use my voice a lot during tournaments, like the tone, like, so I try not to, like, talk like this and be like, "Oh my god, blah, 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 blah," right? The only time I really do that so, like, there's, like, moments where you want so, like, I always think about it too is, like, helping your teammates regulate their nervous system, right? So, you want to help them feel good, right? So, I'll try and be like, "Nice, nice," like, that kinda stuff, just to kinda, like,
Yeah.
remind them of what they're doing. I'm like, "Yes, that looks good, awesome," and I try and keep things really short. So if there's someone on, I tell them, but I'm not like, one on, like not trying because again, like they're already anxious. I don't want to use my voice in a way that also creates more anxiety.
Yeah.
And so yeah, using your voice to help your teammates kind of regulate themselves to stay focused is like a big part of like how our team has kind of played. And then yeah, like you said, like the during those timeouts, a lot of it's just like I help a lot, especially if I'm playing a lot of goal. I can see what's happening more.
Mhm.
And so that's where I kind of start reflecting back. I'm like, This is what I'm seeing happening, right? Here's my recommendation, right?" Or, someone else might be like, "Hey, I'm noticing this. Let's try this instead." And so again, like those timeouts are kind of used to make subtle adjustments, right? Or hey, reminding people like, "Hey, we're getting desperate. That's not our game." You know?
Yeah. Would you have any tips? Something I see a lot when I'm watching, especially intermediate teams and even high level teams sometimes, is from the outside watching, it seems like players are anxious and they're heightened because they're full of adrenaline. They're playing an intense game and they're using the huddle almost as like a way of getting the energy out of their body by talking a mile a minute and saying a bunch of the same things over and over and over and over. And often what I'll see afterwards is the team goes back on the court and nothing's changed. And it's because every player was like venting in the huddle about how anxious. Well, they weren't saying how anxious they were, but it's almost like a coping strategy, a soothing strategy to just vent and get it out, which is great for a lot of people in like a therapeutic setting. But in a huddle, I don't know. I question the effectiveness. What's your opinion on that kind of stuff? What tips would you give teams like that?
I I I've been there. I think that the one thing I think what you're kinda naming, and I've seen as well, and I've experienced as well, and been in those types of huddles, is like when people come together and it becomes like a place to kind of sometimes complain, like, "Oh god, the refs, blah, blah," and again, like, this is totally makes sense. It's like you're having a hard time, right? And you're trying to figure out how to deal with these big feelings. Like, you're frustrated, right? You're super
Mhm.
frustrated with how things are going and, you're using your timeout as a way to kind of express those frustrations, right? And so I think that to to make it more productive, again, this is gonna require some discussion beforehand, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do with our time during our timeouts, right? The timeouts are not a space to, like, sit there and, like, have everyone, like, vent, right? And it doesn't mean, like, you can still acknowledge it, be like, "I'm feeling really frustrated right now. Can somebody just, like, you know, give me a little pep talk." Like, sometimes, like, Jillian, Emily, and I would have some of our timeouts or just between games or something like that. Someone might say, "Hey, I'm really having a hard time staying focused. Can somebody, like, help me ground me, right? So me and like Jillian would do like some breathing exercises, right? Where we would like kind of breathe into our chest. And I'm like, okay, like now can you feel your like just trying to get into your body even, right? Um and so there's like those types of things if people are having a hard time. But I think to kind of just come back to your point, instead of like using is it how do you deal in a way you're almost asking like how do you deal with your like frustrated teammates and a frustrated team um who you know aren't necessarily like just venting your frustration isn't really producing a
Well, it's not
change, you
yeah,
know?
it's not really, like, a productive conversation if everyone is just talking in circles, and I think it comes from a place of anxiety and just wanting things to be okay, so they're kind of overcompensating by just saying more rather than saying less, but being more, mindful about what they're saying and, like, pointed, right? Making sure they're using the words to the most of their ability rather than just filling the space and the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I do it, and I tend to be like team coach a lot of times, and like everyone jokes that I'm like the team therapist. Um, is like for me, if I'm with a team and they're feeling really frustrated, it's like you for me, you need somebody in that group to acknowledge some of these feelings, right? And be like, I know we're all frustrated right now. This is really hard, right? And so it's like sometimes just naming the thing and allowing people to feel, you know what I mean? Like and then and but then do it in a way so that you the entire time isn't being focused on that, right? And so it's like I know that we're all frustrated, right? This is really hard right now. This is not going the way we wanted to. We expected it to go, right? Things aren't happening the way we want them to go.
Mhm.
So, like as we discussed earlier, right? Let's focus on X, right? And so then that's usually what I do, like, if I'm seeing, like, frustrated teammates, is I kinda just try and first acknowledge that the fact that, like, people are having a hard time, and then I try and, like, help us, right, refocus on the things that we can control, right? And just, like, again, it's like reminding everyone about those earlier discussions to help them refocus in a way.
Yeah,
And that sometimes works and it sometimes
perfect.
doesn't, you know? But
Yeah.
most of the time it does, honestly.
I mean, it sounds like you do it like it sounds like a great huddle to me. I think, like, less is more often when everyone's out of breath
Yes.
and trying to get water, you know?
Yes.
You put too much information into that huddle and you end up doing nothing because no
Yes.
one knows what to focus on.
Well, and you can't come up with a grand like, I'm not a big fan of, like, "We're gonna come up with this crazy play, and we're gonna do this elaborate," and I was like, that's not it. Like, the timeouts are literally meant to kind of, like, put a hand on the shoulder of your teammate, right, and just be like, "You're doing awesome. I'm really proud of you," right? Like, just reasserting, like, some of that confidence, the calmness, like, just reconnecting, really. Those puddles are really a moment to reconnect with your teammates,
Yeah.
emotionally so that you can remember, like, this is not we're not here as individuals, we're here as a team. We win and we lose as a team. But if
Yeah.
everybody is, like, separately trying to be the hero or force things, right, then you're not gonna win. So those timeouts can often be used as a way to kinda just reconnect and to also get a breath if you're tired.
I completely agree with you so much. Like, so much. I think so many teams would benefit from just, 1 or 2 messages in the huddle. Like, 'cause, like, these out of bounds, like, these out of timeout plays the teams are drawing up, like, I don't know if people have the sports background, but if you've ever played basketball or soccer and your coach draws up an out of bounds play, it's never the first time you've seen it.
Yes.
You probably practiced it for weeks at practice, hours even of time, reps, for no one in bike polo is doing that,
No. Yeah.
So it's to execute is not gonna happen, especially in a high level game, you know?
And
Um,
when you say out of bounds, what did you say? Out of bounds play?
like, that's like a basketball term, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, the ball went out of bounds, so you use a stoppage in play, so you drop a play from passing the ball in,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Yeah. Whereas I guess for us, it'd be like coming out of a timeout play, these kinds of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta practice it if you wanna
Yeah,
execute it
and
in the game.
you have to have, like, one of the things again, like, I talked for the intermediate folks, and I'm curious what you think about this and what your team has done, but, one of the things Nemesis has tried to kinda develop is, like, we call them if then then that scenarios, so we don't have plays, but we do have strategies for, like, say we're down a point and there's only 2 minutes left in the game. You know what I mean? Like, what are we gonna like, when do we play 3 out if it's an elimination game, right? Like,
Yep.
what is our strategy? Or if it's in just the Swiss or the round robin, right? So, like, knowing what it's gonna do so you're not trying to make those calls mid-game, so you're, like, all on the same page, like, with this, like, if this happens, this is how we respond, right? And having up some of those ideas and plans, but they're not plays, right? Plays are I think elaborate plays just it doesn't I don't know, it doesn't result in a you have to be able to respond to what's happening on the court, right? And
Well,
elaborate plays just don't usually work.
I've seen it lead to a lot of frustration because someone's drawn up this elaborate play and then someone doesn't execute it properly. And like, why didn't you do this? And it's like, well, we've never practiced this before. Or their defense lined up the other side of the court all of a sudden, and now what we have drawn up doesn't make sense. Or
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just really hard to communicate these abstract ideas in a 2-minute timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I like what you said there about the kind of if this then kind of
Mhm.
structure. There's definitely a lot of that. Like I know in teams I've played on where we're like, okay, if we're down 1 or 2 points in the last few minutes, how do we slowly increase our risk profile as the time goes on? Like
Yep.
5 minutes left, we're gonna start double teaming more. Like when the player turns their back, can the two or the person on the crease jump out and ambush them? Okay, we'll start doing that a little more. All right. And then with 2 minutes left, can we start to do like what Fathoms does and like flick the players like I'm doing with my hands. I gotta describe this. We'll do like a cycling forecheck where the first player will dive headfirst at the person with the ball and then knock them off balance, maybe even if they don't get the ball. So the second player can dive at them. And while they're doing that, the first player is cycling back to dive at them a third time, hopefully generating a turnover.
Mhm.
And then you move to three up. And eventually, actually, what I do instead of going to three up is I say, just give them shots. Like we just give up breakaways and get the rebound. I like that sometimes more than playing three up. So that way we get the ball back faster and we get another chance to score, right? Instead of them
So
just
you're
holding it.
in a way, it kinda sounds like you're almost like, this might be, but you're almost like baiting them into shooting.
Yeah, we're just gonna give them a great shot. And we'll have someone in net, and they might score on that. I don't know, a great shooter might score on that 30% of the time, 40% of the time. And so chances are we'll get the ball back, and then we'll have another chance. Sure, it ups our risk a lot, but also ups our reward a lot too. And we just want volatility in those last few minutes and hope
Mhm.
the coin flip swings our way. Yeah,
So in a
that's the one.
way, you're kinda trying to combat the teams that are really good at, like, controlling the ball and are maybe gonna hold it, right,
Yeah.
to run the time because 'cause they're up, and you're like, "Well, maybe if we give them a couple of good looks, they'll take it, and then we
Yeah.
can get the freaking ball." Interesting. I
Well,
like
you
it.
could just ruthlessly double team,
Yeah,
and if you steal it, that's great. And if you don't, they get a free breakaway and
I
they're gonna
see.
shoot it and you can get it back again anyways, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do instead of necessarily going straight to three up,
Okay.
is up in the risk profile quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a funny strategy, but it's worked a couple times. More often than not, you get scored on, but you're losing, so you're gonna lose the game
Yeah,
most of
exactly.
the time anyways.
Yep.
Uh, I wanna bring back to this Commonwealth Classic experience I had playing with you. For those of you listening who've never had the sheer joy and delight of playing with Jenny on your
My
team,
gosh.
she has this bag, and in the bag is a full grocery store, a full pharmacy, a physio studio,
Oh my god.
anything you could possibly want for the tournament. Things I didn't even know I wanted. They were in the bag.
That's too funny.
Uh, what exactly do you pack before a tournament, Jenny?
I had this comment come up for me at Crown Classic too. It was funny. I was sitting near Dana and she was looking for something. I'm like, oh, I probably have that. And I go digging through my giant trash bag of it's like a Mary Poppins bag, I swear to God. I pack everything. I'm a anxious packer, so I tend to and also I always joke that, like, my margin of error is so much more narrow than most people just because I'm autistic. I just turned 45. Like, so I need a lot more support, and so I've learned a lot of, like, tricks of the trade over the years. Um, but yeah, and I remember at, Commonwealth I was so impressed, honestly, that you and Tom did not travel with electrolytes. I was like, "How do you survive?" I'm like, "How are you alive? Like, are you guys robots?"
I don't know. I mean, we eat a lot of food and sleep a lot. I think that's more our plan, I guess. I'm
Okay,
not sure.
that's
But
amazing.
we eat a lot of salty food. I thought that's where all the electrolytes came from.
no, not quite enough. So, the big things that I always pack with me is kinda like my essentials is, like, I always travel with I'm not a big Gatorade or what's the other brand? I don't like pre-made,
Powerade,
yeah,
yeah.
Powerade, and then there's another one, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of the pre-made drinks. 1, they're too heavy, you can't travel with them. 2, they tend to have, like, sometimes a lot of sugar, and I like to be able to separate out when I'm delivering on sugar and when I'm delivering on electrolytes only so that I get to
Piss.
decide, right? So I use Noon tabs, which you just, like, you remember I gave you one and you stuck it in your mouth instead of the
Yeah, I
bottle.
thought it was like a candy at first.
That again, and you hardcore were, like, totally I was like, "W" I was impressed, again, you keep impressing me, but yeah, Noon tabs, they go in your water bottle, Gavin. Um
Yes.
So I travel with those. I use, they're called buoy drops. They're like a saline salty, like, small bottle that, you can just, like, put in your pocket or whatever, and I squirt it in my mouth or in a water bottle just kind of in between games.
Mhm.
So those are, like, my staples for my electrolytes. I always travel with Huel. It's spelled Huel powder, so it's a meal replacement. It's vegan. I recommend the vanilla versus the chocolate. Huel is great for me because I don't know about you, but I can't eat like a normal human being when I'm playing tournaments.
So hard. That's like
Yeah.
the hardest thing is like it'll be like I'll look at my watch, it'll be like 4 PM. And I'm like, oh, I had a croissant and a coffee at 8:30 before
Yeah.
our first game and like a granola bar. I'm like,
Yeah.
I probably at like 300 calories all day long.
Yeah.
And it's now dinner. And I've been playing sports, some tournaments every 2 hours,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, I almost feel like sometimes I want like a fifth player on my team who's just there to like work the door and get food.
Yeah.
Um, it would be so helpful.
I know, I know. If only we had like a support team, right?
A
Like a
manager or something,
yeah,
yeah.
coach, someone who could, like, manage our nutrition, etcetera. No, and I think the big thing for me too is, like, I really always appreciate it when, club hosts, organizing a tournament provide food, but it's just so tricky. I usually don't eat it because I just don't know how my body's gonna react, and I don't wanna have a stomach ache or something weird happening, right? And on top of that, like, anytime I eat, like, real food, it just, like, all the blood goes straight to my digestion, and then I'm really tired, I feel heavy, and the nice thing about the Huel powder is it's a full meal replacement, so it has everything, but it's super easy to digest, and so you just mix it with some water. I have a little shaker. I pack in a plastic bag, the powder, and I shove it in my shaker bottle. That's how I travel with it. And then I just scoop some out and and mix it with water and I drink it. It's not the best tasting thing, but, like, it does the job. I travel with or I buy when I get there are, Haribo gummies
Yeah,
because their first ingredients is basically glucose, which is one of the
yeah,
most
carbs.
it yep, it just bypasses your liver doesn't have to do any of the work. It goes straight to your blood. And, recently, I started using essential amino acids as also as part of my way of managing my energy and recovery during a game. So, how familiar are you with, like, the
Amino
BC yeah,
acids are
amino
like
acids for
proteins, right?
yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
the building blocks of proteins.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so they're the big thing that they help during and after, like, tournaments is they help with repair. So, like, if you're drinking them during the day while you're playing, they essentially kind of help prevent, your body going into, like, a catabolic state, which means, like, breaking down your muscle in order to, fuel you and also just like what happens when you're using your muscles, you get micro tears, etcetera, etcetera. So it helps with just, recovery, like your muscle, recovery, but it also helps your central nervous system, which is a
Oh.
huge component. So, I think that we tend to always think about our body when we get tired It's like, "Oh, my muscles are tired," right? But, like, there's the the
The
muscles, but
nervous
then
system is a
there's your
part of it
nervous
too.
system.
Yeah,
And,
like
like
anyone who starts lifting weights, like the first
yes.
time they go out, they're like, they can't do a squat or a bench press at
Yeah.
all. But then, like within 3 weeks, they're making like massive strength gains. But it's not actually the muscles are stronger; it's the
Exactly.
nervous system is wired and become familiar with the movement.
Yes. It's
Yes,
figured out how to fire and basically direct enough, like,
force. Yeah.
the power to kind of create the power to kind of make the lift, right?
Yeah.
And one of the for me, I think partially it's because of, like, being autistic is, like, my little nervous system is incredibly sensitive, and I fatigue, like, my CNS fatigues really quickly, and so I do a lot, like, you'll see me I always like, one of the things I try to do is I protect my senses a lot, so I'm always wearing sunglasses, I always have a hat on, I love socializing, but I'll also take breaks just because, like, talking to people as much as I love it is fatiguing because it's
Yes.
data that my anything that is, like any inputs on my senses is going to exhaust my nervous system. And so, I have to really kind of modulate how much intake just so that, like, I don't burn out too hard. And and then I'm also supplementing with these amino acids as a way to kinda help support my central nervous system fatigue, because it does help prevent fatigue of your central nervous system as well. So, that's my
Do
newest
you
thing.
do you do any, like, once your games are done, like, anti-inflammatory, like a turmeric? I know a lot of players are on that or an Advil or something like that.
I pregame with the leaf.
Okay, okay.
Pregame,
Some
so I'll
ibuprofen.
usually, like, with my breakfast is I'll take 2 leaves. Only time I ever take these pain meds, and then I'll usually take 2 more, like, early midday, like, afternoon. It's a lot, and I always make sure I take it with food. Do not do your research, people. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, yeah, that's we should probably say that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who's slamming for, ibuprofens? Maybe, do some research on your stomach lining and liver,
Oh, no,
and
I'm very I'm
yeah,
yes, don't worry.
be
I'm
careful with these kinds of things, but, yeah, I mean, I'm similar, like, if I play a big polo day and I took a spill or something, I'm gonna put an Advil in the system, an ibuprofen,
yeah.
and I'm probably gonna take a turmeric as well. I don't know, Robbie swears by the turmeric, but Robbie's quite superstitious also, so he does
And,
all
like,
kinds of strange things.
different things for different bodies, right?
Yes.
I think it's really important for people to kind of experiment safely, get your doctor's approval, all those fun things, but, like, everyone's body is different, so trying to find what works for you. I'm very I stick to the same things every tournament because, like, I mean, like, I eat the same meals for breakfast and the same meals for dinner because I'm not gonna go into a tournament and have some weird dinner that might fuck me up overnight, you know? So it's like I do spaghetti with ground turkey and vegetables every polo night.
I mean, it was very helpful having a teammate that would feed me electrolyte tablets. I'll know to put them in my water next time.
Yep, lesson learned.
My first one, it was like, I knew right away actually when it was about I did this wrong, but then I was like, didn't wanna draw attention, so just tough it out, you know?
I was really impressed. I mean, like, that's
There's nothing impressive about that.
you held your facial expression, there's a little bit of a shock, and then you're like, "Okay,
I
I gotta
have to
commit. I gotta
yeah,
commit to this noon
that's
tab."
called hard-headedness, stubbornness, something both Tom and I possess in great amounts. That was awesome. I mean, you do so much off the court too, just checking in with your teammates. You've been like, "Do you guys need anything? I might go to the grocery store. Do you want anything?" Like, this is also a huge part of being a good teammate too, is,
Yes,
you have this off-court game kind of figured out for yourself, but then supporting teammates who might be a bit more boneheaded like myself in, taking care of ourselves is I mean, it was much appreciated that weekend.
of course, yeah.
Before we got on the air, you were mentioning something about, the difference between, like, competing, but then getting on the podium or maybe qualifying for worlds, and there's so many players in the North American bike polo community that are, like, great players, but haven't been able to, make day 3 at NAs or get to worlds, and I'm just curious, I cut you off because I wanna save it for the podcast, so what were you about to say before I hit record here?
So, it's such a good question, and I'm gonna preface this with, these are my, like, working hypotheses, right? Like,
Mm.
I'm still, you know part of it's like, okay, you do it once, can you do it again type of thing, and I think there's a lot the big thing that I see in terms of differences between teams that are highly skilled, like players who are highly skilled, right? And then, or I should say teams that are highly skilled, and then teams that kind of are able to kind of make it to podium. Like, I think all the skills have to be there, right? The fundamentals. Um, but like, I think that the things that I've seen that have been successful in the differentiation really comes down to a level of patience. and resilience and flexibility that you have to possess in order to make it to a final, for example, or make it to podium. Like, I'm thinking about, like, Nemesis' first season together. We went to NA's in Salt Lake City. On Saturday, AJ dislocated his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Jake sprained his ankle really bad. Like, it was by the end of the tournament, it was the size of a freaking football. It was black and blue. I have never seen a foot so swollen and so disfigured in my life. Hmm. And we were at that point, we're kind of like, "Oh, we're done," right? Like, there's no way we're gonna, like, be able to go very far with this, and we discussed at length, like, "Okay, do we pick somebody else up so that, because we weren't sure Jake was even gonna be able to play,
Yeah.
and we finally decided they were like, we both AJ and Jake were like, "We wanna keep playing," and so we're like, "Okay, like, ride or die. Like, this we're gonna win or lose together." But we're like, "But that we've gotta change how we play," right? Because the big thing for us, our big goal was just to make sure that AJ and Jake did not get more hurt, right? We wanted to make sure they stayed safe. And so we really had to find new approaches that were a little less aggressive that could kind of keep folks safe. And so that kinda gets at, like, the flexibility part, right? And the resilience to a certain extent too, right? Because it's like we had to really be able to persevere when things weren't going well, trust each other, the support that we kinda needed in order to kind of, get there. So, to me, I think the big thing, yeah, it comes to down to, like, those big and, like, being able to dig deep. And I think there's a difference, and this is the thing that I would love to kinda talk a little bit more is, like, I see a lot of times people have this tendency to think that, like, to win, you have to, like, have, like, an ego, and you have to have, like, this killer instinct, and, like, you have to want it, right? You have to want it more than the other team, and that's how you win. And I don't think that's exactly I think there's a fine line. There's this fine line to wanting something and holding it softly, if that makes sense. Like, you have to want it, but you have to also understand at the same time that so much is outside of your control, right? And if you go into a tournament and you want it so hard that you're gonna force things and you're gonna try and be the hero and you know what I mean, you get desperate, etcetera, you're not gonna win because there's gonna be another team there that isn't gonna be desperate, that is going to want it, but they're gonna hold it softly, right? They're gonna it's almost like, again, it comes down to that humble thing, right? It's like you have to want it badly, but then also respect it at the same time, right? Like, you have to want something, but also know that if you get it, it was a gift.
Mhm. I mean, so many things have to line up properly for you to succeed in bike polo, like, to win a tournament.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some coin flips that have to go your way. I feel like, I've been guilty of all of these mistakes, trying
Same,
to be the hero,
same.
that, like, gritting your teeth and just, like, "I'm gonna pedal harder." I mean, that always leads to overcommitting and a breakaway going the other way. I'd say wanting it more is important, but I think wanting it more in the moment of the finals, that's probably not that helpful. Wanting it more 2 months before the tournament and going out to practice twice a week
Oh, I
is
love that.
probably actually where you're gonna win the event.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
like, if you want it more, want it all year long.
Yeah. Put the
Want
work
it
in.
3 months before. Want it when you're like, "Okay, I am gonna wake up early and go for a run this morning," that's when you want it more, and that's what
Mhm.
actually wins tournaments. Like, this year we got NAs, it's gonna be in October, I think. That tournament's being decided right now, in my opinion.
Yep.
Um, and that's how I try to approach it. But, wanting it more in the moment, I'll be like, "I'm just gonna try harder than them," and gritting your teeth is
Yep.
not that's probably not gonna get you very far.
No, I love that point. That's such an important point because what I was talking about obviously was in, like, the tournament, right? But
Yep.
what you're kinda speaking to, in a way, is all of the work that has to go into this is why, like, this is a hot take, but, like, this is why I think that Europe tends to dominate at Worlds. I think it's because they treat bike polo more like a sport than we do. Like, I get it, like, they have better healthcare than we do to a certain extent, like, there's certain things that but, like, they treat it like a sport. They put in a lot of work, and, I'm not saying that we don't as well to a certain extent, but, like, I think that and there are lots of barriers to why we can't. It is hard. We're not paid for this. We're not professional athletes, so we have to find those moments to, like, put in the work, but I do think, practicing, putting in the work too, like, with your team, like, really, like, talking, like, I was kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but, like, I think talking to your team about your own like, being vulnerable with each other. I know that, like, maybe it
You
sounds
have
a
to
little,
be.
like, mushy, but, like, you have to have hard because bike polo brings out the worst and the best in everyone, and that's why I partially why I love it. It's just such an unique and interesting human experiment to be in a sport because I see both the best and the worst of myself, and it's like a mirror, you know what I mean? You're like, "Oh my god, this is who I am," like, and how do I grow as a person and, evolve in these different spaces? It helps you kind of creates these opportunities for growth, and so allowing yourself with your team to be vulnerable and talk about like, "Hey, these are the things that come up for me emotionally when I'm playing. This is how you can support me. This is what I want you to remind me of." Like, a lot of times if you're able to talk about this stuff beforehand, a lot of times it's less likely to be a problem during the games. Or if it does become that, a problem, like, for example, Daniel is one of his big things is he's like, "I when I play poorly, it's because I'm getting desperate." Right? And I'm like, What does desperate look like?" And I'll ask him, like, "What does it look like when you're playing?" So he'll kinda describe, "This is what I see. This is what it looks like when I'm being desperate." And then I'm like, "Okay, what do you want from me when I see that? Like, how can I help you?" And he's like, "Just remind me of the things," right? And so when I do see it, I'll be like, "Daniel, no desperate," right? Like, and he'll be like, "Ah, thank you," you know? And so there's those types of conversations that you can have, and they they're just they can be super powerful in helping you deep into a bracket and during finals.
So is this, you think, what separates those, like, podium teams, those day 3 NAs teams from the other ones, is the fact that maybe they have this experience, they've been anxious, they've made these mistakes many times, and now they've been here before, so they're able to stay calm and navigate, and maybe they have deeper relationships with their teammates. I don't know, what do you think? Like, what's the difference?
No, definitely. I think that this is always joke with, the younger rookies in, San Francisco in my club is I'm like, You're faster, you've got more energy, and all these other things that you can do that I can't do, but the one thing I have on you is experience." And that's the only thing that I can beat you at, right? Is, like, the fact that the teams that have, been in the trenches, have been in finals over and over again, they kinda know what to expect, right? They know what to do when they're down a point, right? They're like, "This isn't the first time I've been down a point, right? This is gonna happen." So it's like the expectation that this is just what happens at this level, right? Whereas a newer team that has not had doesn't have that experience might get to that stage and be like, "Oh my god, what do we do? We're down a point," right? Like, and get desperate, right? And having the experience to kinda just know how to handle yourself and to stay focused, it's just to me, is kind of what makes or breaks, like, those teams.
If we look at the most recent NA's winners, like, basically for my entire polo career, these are all teams that have been playing for a long time before
Yes.
they won, right? Like, you can go, like, Gulls, we can go Mosquito, Fathoms, Control, like, none of these teams are teams that, just showed up and won NAs.
Yeah, exactly. They've been playing for forever, and that's the thing, like, watching Andrew Whalen still play is just, like it's so phenomenal, especially, like, when the team's down, right? There's, like, this
Uh-huh.
something that I always see in him that, like, clicks in a particular moment where he's like, "Okay, we're down," like, and then all of a sudden you just see this, like, click, and he gets hyper focused, right? And but calm at the same time,
It's
right? He
crazy because
doesn't get, like, desperate.
he can be sleeping in a car, like, 20 minutes before the game
No,
and then have this I don't know how he does that.
I don't either.
It's sunburnt, sleeping in the car, get up, get on the court, focus mode. It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
a rare talent.
we always joke that he's an alien and he's just in a human suit. Because like, we would joke that I've never seen him eat food. Like, "How do
That's
you
funny.
do this? Where is your fuel coming from? Are you, like, photosynthesis? Like, what the hell?"
Well, maybe, I don't know. But I wanna also just dive into more of your personal story in bike polo. I think it's really cool to see players come from different walks of life and get into this game. Like, how did you start playing bike polo in the first place?
I started in 2014.
Mhm.
I started it in Davis, California. So I was in grad school and I had a bunch of friends who were playing at the time, like other grad students that I knew, and I would go and watch. And I took photo I was like the photographer and I would hang out. And at the time, they kept like trying to encourage me to play. And I was like, no. And this was back when obstruction was legal and bike on bike, mallet on mallet, ballot, body on body was like, and I was like, that looks dangerous. I don't wanna get hurt, like, I can't get hurt because, I need to finish this grad program, and so I wasn't necessarily, like, super interested, and I kept making excuses, and then one day I was like, "Well, I don't even have a bike, so, like, how would I can't even play." And then, of course, like, 2 weeks later, they had a bike built for me, like, a starter bike for polo, and I was like, "God damn it." So I tried one game, and, I was like, "This is super fun," and now I've been playing, like, 11 years. But it took a lotta it took a lot of work. I'd never played a team sport before, so when I first started, I all I did was just chase the ball. I had no sense of positioning. I thank God obstruction was legal back then because I could just obstruct the fuck out of other players, and that was, like, my strategy for doing I was so sad when obstruction first went away. I was like, "No, it's the one thing I can do to be
Oh, no.
useful." And then, like, after a while, I was like, "Okay, actually, this is great." Like, obstruction is terrible. It makes for an ugly game, and there's much better flow. So, in the end, it all worked out. But I played for about 2 years, and then I started getting, like, really serious. I really wanted to be competitive, and,
Yes.
um, started doing a lot of drills. I would go out because the court was, like, barely a block from my house, so and I was in grad school, so I had some flexibility between classes and teaching and stuff like that, so I just go out and do drills for, like, an hour or 2 hours every single day, just a lot of ball handling stuff,
Mhm.
and honestly, that is what completely changed, like, my polo, which is, like, that solo polo, like, putting I was like, "Well, it's just like any other sport, right?" You know? You gotta practice to get good at things. It's like
Wait, yeah.
building those neural pathways, baby, like
You gotta learn the basic skills. Like, if you can't
yes.
ball handle, you can't shoot, you're not gonna be super useful to basically any team you play on, right? So, there's a certain amount of buy-in you gotta do when it comes to just learning the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So, you've been playing for 11, almost 12 years now, it sounds like? If I'm
Yeah,
doing my
this
math right?
November will be 12, that's
12
insane.
years. So, a pretty long career. You've been a lot of places. One question I ask all my guests is, why are you still playing?
That's an excellent question. I definitely have moments where I'm like, "Oh my god, like, I need to retire." But I keep coming back because I think I kind of, touched on it earlier, which was the thing that I love about bike polo is I mean, the community, I have so many friends, obviously, like, there's just so many opportunities to travel and meet people around the world. I love bikes.
Yes.
Um, but for me, I think the most interesting part is just, in a way, how the sport kind of acts as a mirror. You know what I mean? Like I said,
Mhm.
like, it just I've learned so much more about myself and how to be a human being playing a sport than any other aspect of my life. Like, I think I'm better at my job. I'm a better partner. I'm a better friend just
Yep.
because of all the hard lessons I've had to learn about myself, about like interpersonal communication with other people, working with other people. Because, bike polo, there's not like a it's not like there's like a hierarchy in terms of who's in charge, et cetera, right? It's like you have to learn how to get along with people you don't like. You have to get along with and I think that's like one of the best lessons I learned is like just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean they don't belong in the community or that you don't owe them respect, right? And so there's just a lot that like, a lot of maturity that I feel like I've gotten and a lot of, valuable lessons, and also, it's just, like, I still have so many things I wanna accomplish, and there's just so much you can continue to work on and so many new challenges, like I said, like, I'm 45 now, and so, like, navigating, like, "Oh, I'm not in my 20s anymore or my 30s," and, like, how do I still continue to grow as a player, and push my own boundaries, that's, like that's exciting to me, both, like, physically and mentally, like
Yeah. How old were you when you started playing?
oh god, I can't do the math. Was I, like, 32, I think?
Okay.
32,
I mean,
33.
that's
That's
pretty
still pretty late.
inspirational.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, there's some players I know that are beginning now and maybe they're 28, 29, and they're
No,
thinking,
just a
what's the
little
point?
baby.
They're already saying like, "Oh, I mean, I'm so far. I'm already almost 30. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do much in this game. I'm just here to hit a ball around." And they're kind of frustrated about that.
Yeah.
But I think stories like
Hey,
yours are
look
fantastic.
at me, I'm still playing. It was funny at Crown Classic, I think it was Lynn, I was talking to Lynn, and Lynn was talking about, how they're like, "Oh, yeah, I just turned 30," and I was like, "Shut up." They're like, "Oh, they're" I can't remember exactly what they're
The
complaining.
arthritis in my
Yeah, like,
knee.
"Oh,
Yeah.
my old bones." I was like, "I'm 45, you got nothing to complain about." Like, "You got
That's so
plenty of
good.
years left in there." They're like, "Oh, wow." So, maybe that's what I'm offering. I'm like, even old farts can kinda keep playing, hopefully.
You know what? Like, and based on everything you just said, I think you're gonna be playing for a good number of years still to come
Let's hope.
because you gave me a lot of reasons just now. Okay. I have a few rapid fire questions here to finish up, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Rapid fire.
Oh god.
Uh, what's your ballot choice for 2026? What are you playing with?
Obviously, Donata. I play my big switch right now is I was playing with the Balella, just the regular size, which is like 4.5 inches.
Yep.
I just switched to the mini. Highly recommend. They're awesome.
Even minier?
It is, it's 4 inches, which I was always kinda
Oof.
skeptical of the smaller heads, but I'm also a bit of a weight weenie, like, I try and get my mallet as light as possible. I still drill it out too, little Swiss cheese. Um, so, like, definitely Donata, they are my sponsor, and, I always use carbon shafts, no more
What
aluminum.
shaft?
I literally just get golf shafts.
Okay. It's like the
Um,
graph text that
Graph
people are
Tech,
using? Yeah.
exactly. Anything that I can kinda get that, is reasonably priced. I'm kind of experimenting because Graph Techs, they don't make those shafts anymore.
No.
They were so cheap too. They're like, you can get them for 10, 15 bucks. So I've bought some other ones to kind of experiment with and see if those work. But yeah, Donata for sure.
Cool. And what about your brake? What kind of brake you use on your bike? People
Uh,
want to know about brakes.
okay, so it's a Shimano X
T?
T, I think.
Okay.
It's only got 2 pistons, it's nothing super fancy. I like my brakes it's so funny. I can bleed my own brake, but sometimes I get lazy and I take it to the shop. And they know me. They know I play bike polo, and they know exactly how I like my brake, and I'm like, "I want that brake to kill me if I touch it."
Me too. That's exactly what I want
I'm
to.
like, "Yeah.
They have a jig that lets them push the pistons out in my caliper to the place I want them ahead
Mm,
of time, then they put the pads in
nice."
so that it's an on-off switch essentially.
Yeah, I'm like, "It should if I touch it, it should, like, literally send me over the bars." And they're like, "Oh, okay."
That's great. They must think we're crazy, but it seems like more and more players are going like that these days, everyone I
Yes.
talk to. Okay. One city in the world you haven't played in yet, but you want to.
Well, I haven't been anywhere in, like, Latin America, so I'd love to play in Peru. That
Mhm.
would be pretty awesome. Um, yeah, I
So
think someplace
Lima? Are we talking Lima?
I don't know where they're having, Latin Americans this year.
Yep.
I'm not sure what city, but I would really like to just go and,
Nice.
yeah. They're having, like, a Flenta tournament, I think, so Maritza and I might go down there and play if we can get in, and I might, hey, maybe I'll play in Latin Americans or maybe I'll just, like, watch. That'd be super fun too.
It sounds like a great time to me.
Yeah.
Before we finish up, is there any other topics we haven't touched that you really want to discuss or things you came prepared to talk about that I didn't touch on?
Hmm. Not necessarily. I mean, like, we could go on and on and on and
I
on and
agree,
on.
but I think we got a tight show here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you want to plug?
Anything well, obviously, if you're looking for heads, shout out to Donata. Highly recommend if you need recommendations on heads that you're, looking for, etcetera, hit me up on Instagram. The other shout out of something I'll plug is bike polo camp. Bex runs that. I highly recommend. The coaches are awesome. The coaches put in so much work. Like for intermediate camp, we met so many times. It was a new format. And I'm just, like, so proud of what that team has done, and it's one of the best. And if you ever are interested in, being a coach, you can also reach out to Bex because it's also super rewarding. I was kinda hesitant to do it because I was like, "Oh, man," it's a lot of work. I love polo, but, like, I'm already kind of burnt out. It's been one of the most refreshing things because you see so much fresh new, like, bright players who are so excited about polo, and it just helps refresh you too, right? And you're just like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah, this sport is really cool." And oh my, so the energy you get from participating and helping out like some of the rookies is it's just so much fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Dang, I could use a recharge. Maybe I should reach out.
There you go.
I'm always searching for more passion, you know?
More
This
passion.
podcast is part of that.
Yes.
Well, Jenny, thanks so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. I learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners did too. And we just appreciate everything you're doing for the community. So
Aw,
thank you.
thank you. This has been awesome. Thanks.